The sky of Narovia was burning. Blue cities turned red with fire as the enemy ships flew over them like dark birds of death. The people ran, screamed, and cried, but no one came to help. The Krylocks had returned, stronger, faster, and more brutal than before. These monsters weren't just here to conquer. They were here to erase. From deep inside the mountain city of Kael, the Narovian leaders gathered. Their faces were pale, their voices shaky. High Chancellor Virek stood before the emergency signal panel. "Send the message," he ordered, "to everyone, to anyone. We cannot survive this alone." The technicians nodded and pressed the button. A sharp, loud pulse flew into the stars, an intergalactic SOS. For 3 days, nothing happened. The message echoed into space, repeating again and again. "This is Narovia. We are under attack. We need help. Please, someone, help us." Ships burned in the sky. Homes turned to ash. Hope began to die. Then on the 4th day, something strange happened. One of the communication officers shouted, "We have a response." The room went silent. Everyone turned to the screen. A weak signal was coming in. Old, simple, and not from any known galactic civilization. The data was strange, almost ancient. The voice that followed was even stranger. "This is Earth vessel Ronan. We received your call." Chancellor Virek stepped forward. "Earth? That name. It's not in the galactic records. No one knew who or what Earth was. Not the scholars. Not the scientists. The name had been lost long ago, deleted or forgotten. But the signal was clear. A ship was on its way. And it was human. A day later, the Narovians saw it. A single ship appeared in orbit. Small, black, and without any flags or symbols. It didn't look strong, it didn't look special. But it came straight through Krylock territory without taking a scratch. The ship landed in the ruined southern district. Smoke still rose from the buildings. The few survivors hiding there watched as the ramp opened. A tall figure stepped out. A man wearing dark armor, a scar over one eye and no emotion on his face. "I'm Commander Riker," he said in a calm, quiet voice. "You sent a call. I came." The local guards pointed their weapons at him. They were nervous, suspicious. "One man?" one of them asked. "We called for an army." Riker didn't look at them. "You called for help. I came." He walked past them, slow and silent. He looked at the broken buildings, the ashes, the dead. His face didn't change. "Tell your leaders I want to meet them." Back in Kael, the Narovian council stared at him as he entered. Riker stood in the middle of the room, calm as stone. "You're from Earth?" Chancellor Virek asked. "Yes. But Earth hasn't been seen in over 200 years. It's not even in our star maps anymore. Where have you been?" Riker smiled for the first time. It wasn't a friendly smile. "Sleeping." Virek frowned. "Why did you come?" "You sent a call." We answered. "But what can one man do against the Krylocks?" Riker tilted his head. "Show me one of their ships." The Narovians didn't know what to say, but they took him to the mountain's edge where one Krylock scout ship had landed the day before. It stood like a black beast, ready to fly again. Riker walked up to it. He placed a small black cube on the ground. It blinked red. "What is that?" a soldier asked. Riker stepped back. "A message." The cube exploded, but not like normal bombs. A bright white light swallowed the Krylock ship. When the light faded, nothing was left. No fire, no metal, just a smooth black mark on the ground, like the ship had never been there. The Narovians stared, their mouths open. Riker turned to them. "I can stop them," he said. "But if I do, you need to understand something." Virek stepped forward. "What?" Riker's eyes were cold. "Humans don't save. We end." And then he walked away. Back in the council room, the leaders whispered in fear. "Who are these humans?" one asked. "No one knows," another replied. "They were removed from the galactic records after the Great Silence. No one remembers why. Maybe we should not have called them. But it's too late now, said Virek. They heard us. High in orbit, far above the burning world, something else was coming. More signals, more ships, all with one name, Earth. And they were answering the call, not to save the Nerovians, but to remind the galaxy why humans were once feared, and why they still should be. The people of Nerovia didn't sleep that night. They stood on rooftops, in streets, and behind windows, watching the dark human ship in the sky. It didn't move. It didn't flash lights or send messages. It just floated like a silent shadow above their world. Inside the council hall, the leaders argued. Some wanted to ask the humans to leave. Others believed they were the only hope left. Chancellor Virek sat quietly, his eyes on a small screen showing the human vessel. They don't act like allies, he said softly. They act like hunters. That morning, Riker returned. He walked into the council room without knocking. His armor was still dusty from the previous day's blast. I need information, he said. Everything you know about the Krylocks. Ship movements, bases, weak points. Virek narrowed his eyes. We will give you that. But first, we need to know more about you. Riker looked at him without blinking. There's not much to tell. The council stared at him. One of the elder members, a gray-skinned historian named Toll, leaned forward. Earth was removed from our star maps 213 years ago, he said. Humans were once part of the Galactic Council, but something happened. Riker didn't answer. Toll continued. Rumors say humans broke a treaty, that they used weapons banned by every species in the galaxy, that they vanished after a war no one wants to talk about. Riker gave a small smile. Those aren't rumors. The room fell silent. You were banished, Toll whispered, because you were too dangerous. No, Riker said. Because we won. The council members looked at each other with fear. Virek finally spoke. Then why are you helping us? Riker paused. Because someone asked for help. And we remember what that means. Even if the galaxy has forgotten, the Nerovians didn't know what to say. Before anyone could speak, a voice crackled in the room's speakers. Unidentified fleet approaching orbit. Virek jumped to his feet. Krylocks? The voice replied. Unknown. Not Krylock. Wait, they're human ships. Everyone turned to Riker. How many? He asked the radio. The voice answered. 6. No, 7. Heavy class. Black hulls. No ID codes. Riker nodded. It's the fleet. Fleet? Virek asked. You called more of you? Riker turned to him. You called us. I just answered. Moments later, the sky above Nerovia darkened. 7 human warships entered orbit, moving without sound. Their design was unlike anything the Nerovians had seen. Sharp angles, no windows, and armor that seemed to drink in the sunlight. No music. No fanfare, just pure power. They didn't contact the planet, they didn't explain. They waited. Then one ship moved. It shot forward, crossing space like a bullet. The target, a Krylock command cruiser hiding behind Nerovia's moon. The human ship fired once. 1 second later, the Krylock cruiser vanished in a flash of white fire. No wreckage, no escape pods. Just silence. Back on Nerovia, fear spread. People had hoped for heroes. Instead, they saw monsters, silent and efficient. There were no speeches, no demands. The humans didn't ask for thanks. They came, they killed, and they waited for the next target. Later that night, Chancellor Virek and Riker stood on a balcony overlooking the damaged city. Fires still burned. In the distance, you didn't hesitate, Virek said. No point, Riker replied. You killed every last one of them. That's war. Virek was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, Will your people stop once the Krylocks are gone? Riker didn't answer. The silence between them grew heavy. Finally, Virek said, You don't fight like defenders, you fight like predators. Riker looked out at the sky. You called for help. You didn't say how. The next morning, the Nerovians saw human troops marching across the plains. Black armor, red visors, perfect formation. They weren't here to rescue. They were here to clean. An old Nerovian soldier watching from a hill turned to his captain and whispered, "We didn't ask who would answer. Maybe we should have." At the end of the day, Riker received a message on his private comms. A voice spoke through the static. "Riker, the network is active. We've found something on the Krylok's core planet." "What is it?" Riker asked. The voice replied, "Something old. Not Krylok tech. Something buried deep. Maybe architect origin." Riker's face changed for the first time. Not fear, not anger, just interest. "Send the coordinates," he said. Then he turned, his eyes toward the stars. The war was not over, it was just beginning. The Nerovians watched the human fleet move like shadows across the stars. Day by day, more Krylok ships were destroyed. No warnings, no prisoners. The humans didn't care about diplomacy or mercy. They came to win. In the war room of the mountain, City Kale Chancellor Virek stared at the growing map. Red dots, Krylok ships, kept disappearing. Human icons replaced them, cold and silent. "They are unstoppable," said General Arvon, his voice low. "No," Virek replied. "They're not unstoppable. They're unafraid." Riker stood near the table, arms crossed. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "What did your team find?" Virek asked him. Riker tapped the table screen. A planet appeared, dark, barren, with signs of deep tunnels under the surface. "It's one of the Krylok's original strongholds," Riker said. "But their tech isn't native, it's borrowed." "Borrowed from who?" Riker looked at him. "The architects." The room went quiet. The architects, a name from legend, a race so old that even the stars had forgotten them. Some said they built the first starships. Others said they were gods who vanished after creating the galaxy's laws. Toll, the old historian, stepped forward. "Impossible. The architects died out thousands of years ago." "No," Riker said. "They went into hiding, and they left weapons behind." "You think the Kryloks found them?" Virek asked. "They didn't just find them," Riker said. "They were made by them." Gasps filled the room. "You're saying the Kryloks are creations?" asked Toll. Riker nodded. "Engineered soldiers, the architects' way of keeping control after they lost direct power. But something went wrong. The Kryloks grew beyond them, wild, hungry, that's why they attack without reason." "But why now?" Virek asked. "Why Nerovia?" Riker looked out the window at the black sky. "Because they're afraid. And when animals are afraid, they bite." Later, Riker stood alone in the ruins of an old temple near Kale. The walls were cracked, but the writing was still clear. Ancient symbols no one had read in ages except Riker. He ran his hand along the wall. The symbols glowed faintly, reacting to his touch. Behind him, Tal approached carefully. "You can read them?" "Yes," Riker said. Toll was silent for a moment, then asked, "Why does a human soldier know a dead language?" Riker didn't turn. "Because humans weren't just part of the galaxy once. We learned from the architects, and then we turned against them." Toll's heart pounded. "That's why you were banished." Riker looked over his shoulder, his eyes cold. "No, that's why we left." Toll stepped back. "Your people feared us because we didn't follow the rules," Riker said. "But we didn't break the galaxy. The architects did. We just saw it first." Back in the war room, a new alert came in. One of the human ships had gone silent after reaching the Krylok homeworld. No crash, no signal, just silence. Riker's face turned serious. "They found something." He turned to Virek. "I need full access to your archives." "For what?" the Chancellor asked. "There's a code hidden in old records," Riker said. "A warning. The architects left it behind, buried in old languages, old data. If I find it, I'll know what we're facing." Virek hesitated, then nodded. "Granted." For the next 10 hours, Riker and a team of human AI specialists worked through the Neurovian archives. They searched files older than the planet's government. At last they found something, a transmission. It wasn't from the Krylocks, it wasn't even recent, it was pre-Krylock, thousands of years old. The voice in the message was not like anything heard before. It was slow, deep, and echoed strangely. "If this message is heard," it said, "then the humans have returned. We warned you once. Do not let them awaken. What sleeps? Let the old war stay buried or face extinction again." The room went silent. "What does it mean?" Virek whispered. Riker's face was hard. "It means we didn't win the last war. We just ended the first round." Virek's voice shook. "And now?" Riker looked at the stars again. "Now the second round begins." At that moment, a new message came through from orbit. "Commander Riker, long-range scans show movement under the Krylock homeworld surface. Massive energy spikes, we think. It's activating." "What is?" Virek asked. Riker turned slowly. "Their god." And with that, the countdown to something much darker had begun. The Krylock homeworld was no longer silent. Deep under its black surface, the ground shook with energy. Tremors spread across the planet like a heartbeat. The humans had seen many battlefields before, but this was something different. Something old had awakened. Commander Riker stood on the bridge of the human ship Ronin, staring at the screen. Red pulses lit up across the map of the planet's surface. Ancient tunnels, forgotten vaults, and energy cores long buried were all coming alive. "Still no word from Valkyrie?" Riker asked. The officer shook his head. "No, sir. Ship went dark after entering the lower sector. No signals. No data." Riker's eyes narrowed. "Then whatever's down there, it's not just old, it's hostile." Back on Neurovia, Chancellor Virek watched the news with growing fear. The Krylocks had stopped attacking. Their ships no longer flew in groups. Some were even seen retreating, something they had never done before. "It's like they're afraid of their own planet," General Arvin said. Virek looked at the sky. Or what's under it. That evening, Riker returned to the surface. He met with the Neurovian Council in a sealed chamber. The room was filled with tension. Everyone was waiting for answers. Riker stepped forward and activated a projection. A black sphere appeared, pulsing slowly. "This is what's waking up beneath the Krylock homeworld," he said. "We call it a seed core. The architects planted it long ago, maybe as a last weapon or a test." Toll, the historian, stared at it. "And what does it do?" Riker's voice was low. "It changes everything it touches." Virek leaned forward. "Explain." "The seed core sends out a signal, not just to machines but to living things. It changes their minds, twists them, makes them stronger, faster, but also more violent. Less human, less alive." The room went cold. "That's what happened to the Krylocks," Riker said. "They were a test species. The architects wanted to see how far they could push evolution, but it got out of control. So now it's..." "Starting again?" Virek asked. Riker nodded. "Unless we stop it." Toll looked pale. "How do you stop something like that?" "You don't," Riker said. "You destroy the planet." Gasps filled the room. "You can't be serious," Virek said. "I am," Riker replied. "We either wipe out the seed core or it spreads. If that signal reaches other species, other worlds, you won't face a war. You'll face extinction." The council fell into silence. Finally, Virek asked, "And how do you plan to destroy a planet?" Riker didn't answer right away. Then he reached into his belt and placed a silver cube on the table. "This is an echo bomb, built from technology older than your history books. One detonation at the planet's core, and the seed dies." General Arvin stared at the cube. "How do you even have that?" Riker looked at him. "Because humans weren't just students of the architects. We took their lessons and made something better." Virek sighed. "And more dangerous." Riker didn't argue. As plans moved forward, the human fleet began surrounding the Krylock planet. But something unexpected happened. A message arrived. Not from the Krylocks. From beneath them. The voice was not human, not Krylock. It echoed with layers, like many voices speaking as one. "You have returned," it said. "The children of Earth, the thieves of fire." On the bridge, Riker froze. "You know who we are," he said. "We made you," the voice replied. "And we were right to fear what you'd become." "What do you want?" Riker asked. "To survive," the voice said. "We offer a choice. Leave this place, let us reshape the galaxy, or be erased." Riker gave a cold smile. "You want the galaxy? You'll have to take it from us." The voice answered, "So be it." At that moment, the ground around the seed core cracked open. Something rose from the planet's center, a massive machine, half organic, half metal. A living tower of teeth, claws, and wires. It roared without sound, shaking the stars. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a god. Back on Nerovia, the people felt the shift. The sky seemed darker, the air heavier. Chancellor Virak stood with his guards watching the live feed. "So this is what humans fight," he whispered. "Not enemies, but nightmares." As the human fleet charged toward the Krylok planet, the first real war began, not between nations, but between the past and the future. The stars lit up with fire. Human warships opened fire on the Krylok planet, launching waves of missiles and energy blasts. The massive machine rising from the core struck back. Beams of dark energy shot into space, cutting 2 ships in half, in seconds. Commander Riker stood on the bridge of the Ronin, jaw tight. "We've never seen a defense system like this," his officer said. "That's not a defense system," Riker replied. "That's the architect's final weapon, a world engine." The creature machine below didn't move like anything born in nature. Its body shifted constantly, growing, twisting, becoming sharper and taller with each passing minute. It looked alive, but more like something that pretended to be alive. The seed core had become its heart. "Status of the Echo bomb?" Riker asked. "Still on board," the officer replied. "But we'll have to land to deploy it, and there's no clear path through that thing's defense net." Riker turned to his pilot. "Then make one." On the planet's surface, Kryloks ran. They didn't fight. They fled from their own creation. Villages were abandoned, bases emptied. They screamed in their strange language as the black tower grew behind them. In the sky, the human fleet tried to punch a hole through the defenses. Fighters swarmed, weaving through beams and fire. 2 more ships were lost, but then finally a path opened. Riker didn't wait. He grabbed the Echo bomb and led a team of 6 into the dropship. "This ends today," he said. As they flew into the storm of energy and metal, Chancellor Virak watched the battle from a safe distance. He spoke to Toll, the historian, who stood beside him. "Why didn't we see this coming?" Virak asked. Toll was quiet for a moment, then he said, "Because we believed the galaxy was peaceful, that history couldn't repeat. But the humans, they never stopped preparing for war." Virak shook his head. "They are war." The dropship hit the ground hard, skidding across black stone. The landing area near the seed core was filled with wreckage, old machines, broken statues, bodies of strange creatures long forgotten. The place felt cursed. Riker and his team moved fast, racing toward the center where the tower pulsed with light. The bomb was heavy, glowing slightly in its silver casing. "Keep eyes up," Riker said. "This thing's not alone." He was right. From the cracks in the ground, figures crawled out. Twisted shapes, half Krylok, half metal. Their eyes glowed blue. They moved like insects but screamed like humans. "They're infected," one soldier said. "Changed by the signal." "Fire at will," Riker shouted. Gunfire lit the darkness. The infected fell, but more came. The team pushed forward, step by step, until they reached a glowing door in the side of the tower. "We plant the bomb inside," Riker said. "Deep as we can go, no delays." They entered the structure. Inside, the walls were alive, pulsing with energy, covered in glowing symbols. The sound of a heartbeat echoed through the halls. Toll's voice came through Riker's earpiece. "Be careful. If the core detects your presence, it may adapt." "It already has," Riker replied. Deeper inside, they reached the core chamber. At the center was a massive sphere of light and shadow, floating in the air, humming like a storm. Riker placed the bomb near the base. "Timer set for 10 minutes, he said. "We run, no matter what." But just as he turned, the floor shook. A figure appeared in the light, tall, humanoid, but not fully formed. Its face shifted constantly, taking the shape of many different species. The architect's ghost. "You bring death again," it said, voice echoing with thousands of tones. Riker raised his gun. "No, I bring balance." "You are unworthy," the voice said. "You were given knowledge, you used it to destroy." "We were taught by monsters," Riker growled. "We became one to stop them." The figure stepped forward. "You can't kill what you are." Riker stared it down. "Watch." "Me?" He threw a plasma grenade at the ghost. It passed through harmlessly, but it bought time. "Move!" he shouted. The team ran, shooting through waves of infected. 2 soldiers were lost. 1 stayed behind to hold the line. At the surface, the dropship waited. Riker and the last of his team jumped aboard as the countdown reached 30 seconds. "Take us up," he shouted. The ship lifted fast, engines burning. Behind them, the ground opened. The Seed Corps screamed. Then everything went white. From orbit, the Neurovians and the human fleet watched the Krylok homeworld crack. The tower broke. The planet shook violently, and then a silent flash. The Seed Corps was gone. No explosion, no debris, just nothing. A hole where the planet used to be. On the Ronin, Riker sat in silence. His face was tired. His armor burned. Virek's voice came through the comm. "You did it," he said. "No," Riker replied. "We survived it. There's a difference." But something still bothered him. In the final moment as the tower broke, he had seen something in the core. A signal, sent out, not stopped, a final message. To where? He didn't know. But someone had heard it, and they were already coming. The Krylok homeworld was gone. Where it once floated in space, only silence remained. No debris, no signals, just a hole in the stars. On the human command ship Ronin, Commander Riker stared at the empty space through the window. His reflection looked back at him. Tired, bruised, changed. "We should be celebrating," said Lieutenant Mara, standing beside him. Riker didn't answer. He kept staring at the darkness. "Something's wrong, isn't it?" she asked. Riker finally spoke. The Seed Corps wasn't just a weapon. It was a beacon, a call. Mara frowned. "To who?" Riker turned to her. "The ones who made it. Back on Neurovia, the people cheered. For the first time in years, the sky was safe. The Kryloks had vanished. No more attacks, no more fear. Chancellor." Virek stood before his people and spoke with pride. "We called for help, and humanity answered. They risked everything for us. Today we thank them. Today we live free." The crowd roared with joy. But in the shadows of the city, Toll the historian studied the ancient books once more. He had found a pattern in the architect's symbols, something the others missed. The message Riker saw in the core was real, and it had been received. Toll called Riker. "I believe I know where the signal went," he said. "Where?" Riker asked. Toll paused. "To the center of the galaxy." Riker's face grew serious. "No one goes there. It's locked. A dead zone." "Exactly," Toll said. "Because something sleeps there, something older than the architects. They called it the First Mind." Riker went silent. Later, in a private chamber, Riker opened a sealed human archive. The files were marked Black Sun, Level Omega. Only a few humans knew what was inside. He read the text slowly. "The First Mind is not a god. It is not a machine. It is the root of all design. Before species, before stars, there was the mind. The architects feared it. Humanity studied it. And then we locked it away. The Seed Corps had awakened the mind, and now it was aware." That night, space trembled. Sensors across the galaxy picked up a ripple, like a wave through the stars. Power stations flickered, AI systems glitched. FTL. Drives failed for several seconds. It was brief, but it was everywhere. A voice whispered through space. Not in words, but in thought, I see you. On Nerovia, people woke up from nightmares they couldn't remember. On the Ronin, Riker ordered full combat readiness. We need to move, he told his crew, before it gets here. What is coming? Mara asked. Riker looked at her. Something we buried, something we hoped would never rise again. A new threat appeared in the sky. Not ships, not planets, but shapes. Dark, massive, drifting silently. At first, they looked like asteroids. Then, they moved fast. Virek watched them approach. Is it Krylox again? No, Riker said. Worse, these are Watchers. Tal gasped. That's impossible. The Watchers are just legend. Guardians of the First Mind. Machines so advanced even the architects couldn't control them. They're not machines, Riker said. They're living codes. They rewrite reality as they go. Wherever they land, everything changes. Virek stepped back. Can we fight them? No, Riker said. We run. But it was already too late. One of the Watchers entered orbit above a nearby moon. It hovered in silence. Then it released something, a glowing sphere that fell to the surface and sank into the ground. Moments later, the moon began to change. Its surface cracked. New structures grew from the soil like metal trees. The air turned black. Life vanished. In just 10 minutes, the moon became something else, something wrong. Virek stared at the screen. It's rewriting the world. Riker turned to his team. We need to find the mind's location before they reach it. If the first mind fully awakens, there won't be a galaxy left. But how? Mara asked. We don't even know what it is. We don't, Riker said. But one human might. He opened a comm channel. Send a message to the Black Vault, authorization Iron 7. Who are you calling? Virek asked. Riker looked at him, the only one who survived the First War. A moment later, the screen lit up. An old man appeared, scarred, blind in one eye, sitting in a dark room filled with ancient weapons and broken armor. He smiled. Hello, Riker, the man said. Didn't I tell you? We never buried it deep enough. The old man's name was Kale. Once he was a general, a hero, a monster. The only human still alive who had fought in the First War, the secret war against the First Mind. Now, he sat alone in the Black Vault, deep in the frozen asteroid of Cerberon 9. Riker appeared on the screen. Kale, we need you. Kale chuckled. You always did. What woke it? The seed core, Riker said. We destroyed the Krylock world. But the signal got out. Kale's face turned serious. Then the galaxy's already dying. You just can't see it yet. Riker leaned forward. Tell me how to stop the First Mind. Kyle spoke slowly. You don't stop it. You trap it. Again. But this time, it will fight harder. Where is it? Riker asked. Kyle looked at him with his one good eye. At the center. The hollow star. It's not a real star. It's a machine. A prison. That's where the First Mind is waking up. Riker ended the call and turned to his crew. Set course for the hollow star. The journey took 6 days. The closer they came, the more wrong space felt. Stars twisted. Gravity trembled. Time itself stretched and snapped. Then they saw it. Giant black star floating in silence. Not burning, beating. Like a heart. Surrounding it were pieces of broken worlds. Bones of old gods. Ships turned inside out. The hollow star. The human fleet stopped outside its orbit. Only the Ronin went forward. Inside, they found a vast sphere, thousands of kilometers wide. At the center floated a glowing mass of light and shadow, pulsing slowly. The First Mind. No shape, no face, just presence. It felt like it had always been there, watching, waiting. As Riker and his team approached in their dropship, the ship's lights flickered. Voices whispered in their heads. You fear what you do not understand. You kill what you cannot control. You call yourselves human. You are echoes of us. Riker ignored the voices. They landed on a platform near the core. The bomb they carried was not a normal weapon. It was a thought bomb, a memory eraser, built to reset a mind the size of a planet. Riker stepped forward with the device. You talk too much, he said. The mind spoke louder now. I created you. I gave your kind the fire of stars. And you repaid me with chains. Riker planted the bomb. Maybe, he said. But we learned one thing you never did. What? Riker looked up. How to be more than you. The mind screamed, not a sound, but a storm of emotion. The structure shook. Creatures made of light and code rose from the ground, charging at the humans. The team fought hard. Laser fire lit the darkness. One by one, soldiers fell. But Riker kept going, protecting the device. Then, the mind reached inside Riker's thoughts. It showed him Earth burning, Neurovia falling, humanity forgotten. But Riker held on. He remembered faces, names, laughter, struggle. He remembered what it meant to be human. With one last breath, he activated the bomb. White light filled the chamber. Time stopped. Then, silence. The first mind was gone. Not dead. Forgotten. The hollow star began to collapse. The Ronin barely escaped pulling free, as the structure folded into itself. Back on Neurovia, Virek received the message. Mission complete. First mind erased. Watchers deactivated. The galaxy was safe. For now. Weeks later, Riker stood at a quiet outpost near a blue star. He looked older, slower, but his eyes still held fire. Kale visited him. You did it, Kale said. Riker nodded. We all did. Kale looked at the stars. But it's not over, is it? Riker shook his head. The galaxy is big, and the architects had many secrets. Kyle sighed. Then we better stay ready. Riker smiled faintly. That's the human way. They stood in silence. Somewhere far away, deep in a forgotten corner of space, an ancient machine blinked. A file opened. A voice whispered, Begin Project, Genesis.